Imagine a place where time doesn't chase you, where love isn't a trend and hearts don't expire with age. A place where silence speaks louder than noise, and even the oldest souls rediscover the fire of young passion. In this world, deep within the desert, something extraordinary happens. Here, old men fall in love like young men, and young women are drawn not to youth, but to wisdom. What if I told you that modern science is shocked by this, yet never dares to speak of it openly? What if the truth about love, age, and attraction is hidden not in textbooks, but in the sands of the desert? Stay with me, because this is not just a speech. It's a journey into the forgotten truths of the heart. By the end, you may never see love or age the same way again. The desert is often viewed as a place of isolation, silence, and stillness. To the untrained eye, it may seem lifeless and empty. But those who dwell in the desert know a different truth. They understand that this unique landscape, stripped of noise and distractions, holds a profound rhythm. This rhythm is not rushed by the clocks of cities or the chaos of digital life. Instead, it is a rhythm of nature, where time stretches and flows in its own mysterious way. In this expansive quiet, emotions are not only preserved, but deepened. It is within this stillness that the heart continues to beat with a quiet intensity, regardless of the age of the body it lives in. In the desert, time moves differently. A day can feel like a lifetime, and a moment can hold the weight of years. There are no traffic lights, no office deadlines, and no crowded coffee shops. There are only the shifting sands, the rising and setting sun, the stars that shine like ancient memories, and the endless sky. This absence of societal pressure and artificial timelines allows emotions to breathe, to grow at their own pace, unshaped by outside noise. In such an environment, love does not follow a linear path. It does not belong only to the young or the restless. Love in the desert belongs to those who are willing to listen to the silence, who are not afraid of solitude, and who understand that the heart is timeless. As people grow older, society often expects their emotional lives to fade or simplify. In many urban or modern cultures, aging is seen as a slow departure from passion, desire, and romantic expression. But the desert shows us something entirely different. Here, age does not dim the flame of the heart. In fact, the solitude and spiritual vastness of the desert nurture an emotional richness that often escapes the hurried lives of younger people in fast-paced societies. Older individuals who have lived through hardships, who have lost and loved before, find in the desert a place to reconnect with their inner world. They are not driven by impulse or superficial attraction, but by a deeper, quieter yearning that matures over time. This yearning is not weakened by age, but rather clarified by it. The desert has a way of revealing the essence of things. Just as it strips trees of unnecessary leaves and sands away the rough edges of rocks, it also removes the clutter from our emotional lives. In the stillness of the desert, the noise of ego, insecurity, and social pressure fades away, and what remains is raw, unfiltered feeling. In this stripped-down emotional environment, love becomes more than a game of youth or hormone. It becomes a soulful connection, born not from urgency, but from understanding. This environment allows older men to experience love with a sense of purity and truth that they may have missed in their younger years, when life was busier and noisier. When older men fall in love in the desert, they do so not because they are clinging to youth, but because their hearts are finally free from the clutter that once distracted them. They are more in tune with themselves, more present, and more capable of genuine emotional intimacy. The desert offers them the space to reflect, to remember, to grieve, and ultimately to open up again. The natural silence of the desert becomes a kind of therapy, allowing buried emotions to rise, old wounds to be healed, and new feelings to be welcomed without judgment. This is something that modern science often overlooks. While studies focus on physical aging, hormonal changes, and cognitive decline, they rarely explore how certain environments, like the desert, preserve emotional vibrancy and even reignite romantic passion. There is also a spiritual aspect to this desert love. Many desert cultures are deeply connected to spirituality, tradition, and a slower way of life. Love in such cultures is not just about chemistry or excitement. It is about alignment of souls, shared values, and mutual respect. When older men in the desert fall in love, they often approach it with a sense of honor and sacredness that comes from a lifetime of reflection. Their love is not performative. It does not seek validation through grand gestures or public displays. It is quiet, enduring, and deeply personal. And it is precisely this authenticity that can be incredibly attractive even to younger individuals who are seeking something real in a world full of superficial connections. In this context, age becomes an advantage rather than a limitation. An older man in the desert carries stories, wisdom, and calm. His presence is like the desert itself, steady, vast, and quietly powerful. For a younger woman who is seeking more than a fleeting romance, this kind of emotional grounding can be incredibly magnetic. It is not about money or status. It is about the energy of someone who has faced life and come out with grace. This kind of energy cannot be faked or rushed. It is cultivated over time, and the desert provides the perfect environment for it to thrive. Another reason the desert preserves emotion is the deep connection to the natural world. In modern cities, we are often disconnected from nature. Our emotions are constantly bombarded by notifications, news, and the noise of urban life. But in the desert, one becomes attuned to the cycles of nature. The wind, the temperature shifts, the movement of animals, the phases of the moon. This natural rhythm encourages introspection and emotional awareness. When an older man watches the sunset over the dunes, he is not just witnessing a beautiful scene. He is connecting with something eternal. This connection has a way of opening the heart, of softening what time has hardened, and of making room for love, even at an advanced age. Moreover, desert communities often have a different view of aging. In many of these cultures, elders are respected and seen as carriers of wisdom. They are not pushed aside or rendered invisible, as they often are in youth-obsessed societies. This respect allows older men to maintain a strong sense of self-worth and confidence, which in turn makes them emotionally available and attractive. They are not trying to prove themselves, they are simply being. And in that being, they are able to connect deeply with others, including younger women who admire their authenticity and strength. The preservation of emotion in the desert is also tied to the way people live. Life is slower, more deliberate. Relationships are built on daily acts of kindness, on shared responsibilities, on conversations that are not hurried. This kind of emotional pacing allows love to grow naturally, without pressure or expectation. An older man in such a setting is not in a rush to impress or to capture attention. He is patient, and that patience becomes a powerful expression of love. It communicates care, respect, and a willingness to invest time and energy, qualities that are often missing in modern romantic interactions. His wives invest in him, condition which might lead to despair. In summary, the desert is not just a physical landscape. It is an emotional and spiritual space where time bends and feelings deepen. For older men, it offers a rare chance to reconnect with parts of themselves that may have been silenced or forgotten. It allows them to love, not as they did in the vast, empty stretches of desert, where the land seems to breathe silence and the winds carry stories older than memory. Time loses its urgency. The sun rises and sets in grand golden cycles, but the people who live there do not measure life by clocks or calendars. They measure it by experiences, emotions, and the silent transformations of the soul. Unlike urban environments where everything is fast, fast love, fast food, fast decisions, fast endings, desert life is slow. But this slowness is not laziness or delay. It is deliberate. It is the rhythm of life itself, breathing through sand and solitude. And in this slowed rhythm, emotions do not wither with age, they ripen. The psychological landscape of the desert creates a unique environment where emotional aging doesn't follow the usual patterns seen in more fast-paced societies. In cities, the burden of competition, the pressure to keep up, and the onslaught of artificial distractions all speed up not only physical exhaustion, but emotional burnout. People are taught to love fast, leave faster, and forget fastest. This urgency diminishes the depth of feeling and replaces intimacy with efficiency. But in the desert, nothing is urgent except survival. And through that survival emerges a more profound connection with oneself and others. This environment allows emotional capacities such as love, empathy, and longing to mature rather than fade. The harshness of the desert paradoxically nurtures a kind of emotional sensitivity. When one's world is reduced to sand, sky, sun, and silence, inner landscapes become more vivid. Thoughts echo louder, emotions resound deeper. There's no background noise to drown the whispers of the heart. Here, love isn't about entertainment or excitement. It is about stillness and presence. In this stillness, even an old man finds that his capacity to love is not diminished by time, but made purer by it. His feelings are not rushed. They are slow, simmering, and sincere. He has no need to impress or perform. He simply feels. Moreover, desert societies often revolve around storytelling, oral traditions passed down generations, spoken under starlit skies around a fire. These stories do not age, they evolve. They are reinterpreted, refelt, reunderstood over time. Similarly, love in the desert evolves. It is not a short chapter in youth. It's a story that can begin at any time, even in old age, and still hold meaning and power. An old man in the desert does not see his past as wasted or gone. He sees it as a foundation upon which new emotions can be built. His memory enriches his present, and that present is not rushed into oblivion, but savored, like rare water in a clay pot. The very concept of falling in love changes in this environment. It is no longer a fall. It's a deep settling into something familiar and comforting. The old man may feel the warmth of a young girl's affection not with surprise, but with recognition. He recognizes the rhythm of care, the echo of vulnerability, and the resonance of shared silences. The emotional time in which he lives allows him to receive and reciprocate these feelings, not as a relic clinging to youth, but as a soul still capable of tenderness. In the city, an old man in love might be ridiculed, pitied, or questioned. In the desert, he is respected. His feelings are valid because the desert has taught everyone, old and young, that emotions do not retire with the body. Science often ignores this. Studies focus on hormonal decline, on biological aging, on statistical correlations between age and emotional reactivity. But what they frequently overlook is the effect of environment, not just physical, but social and cultural, on how emotions evolve and are expressed. In a place where technology does not interrupt face-to-face contact, where relationships are lived rather than posted, where presence is valued over performance, emotions age differently. They don't decay, they deepen. The old man in the desert isn't in emotional decline. He is, in many ways, reaching emotional clarity. This clarity gives his love a different texture. It's not infatuation or fantasy. It's an intimate understanding of what it means to care, to protect, to appreciate, to witness. He is not chasing beauty, he is admiring life. He sees the girl not as a prize, but as a partner in a shared moment of meaning. And because desert life doesn't push people to race ahead, both have time to explore that meaning. Time in the desert doesn't tick, it breathes. Culturally, this is reinforced through customs. In many desert communities, elders are not seen as obsolete, but as carriers of wisdom, guidance, and emotional depth. Younger people, especially girls raised in such environments, grow up with this worldview. They are not trained to seek only youthful excitement, but to find beauty in calm, in confidence, and in quiet strength. The older man then becomes an emotionally safe space, a living embodiment of patience, history, and protection. His affection is not impulsive, it is intentional. And because emotional time has not rushed him, he is capable of giving and receiving love with a kind of purity rarely seen in more hurried places. There's also the role of memory. In the desert, where life is minimalistic, people often remember more. Memory becomes a living presence. For the old man, past loves, losses, and lessons are not forgotten, they are integrated. So, when he loves again in old age, he brings with him the full depth of all he's lived. This makes his love richer, more rooted. He is not seeking to relive youth, but to revisit love with the wisdom of age. And in doing so, he reawakens the emotional vitality that time never truly took from him, it only quieted it. From a spiritual perspective, many desert cultures believe that love is not bound by age or time. It is considered a divine gift, not a biological phase. In such worldviews, an old man falling in love is not an oddity. It is a continuation of the soul's journey. And because time in the desert is seen as circular rather than linear, the experience of love doesn't belong to just one phase of life. It can return, evolve, surprise, and blossom, even in its twilight. What's most profound is that this emotional timeline challenges the assumptions held by mainstream psychology. Emotional development is often mapped linearly: childhood, adolescence, maturity, decline. But in the desert, emotional development is cyclical. A man who has lost love in youth may rediscover it in old age with even greater strength. His environment has not pressured him to move on or replace, but to reflect, to honor, and to remain open. This openness is the secret that the desert teaches. Even the elements reflect this. The desert is full of opposites: extreme heat and cold, drought and flood, silence and storm. Similarly, the emotional life of an old man in the desert is full of contrasts: loneliness and connection, past and present, loss and renewal. In this environment, he becomes emotionally agile, capable of feeling many things at once without collapsing under their weight. His love is not youthful because it mimics youth, but because it embraces complexity with simplicity. It is youthful because it is alive. One might ask, why doesn't science talk about him? The answer is complicated. Western scientific models often pathologize late-life love, especially in men. It is either seen as a crisis, a deviation, or an anomaly. Few studies explore environments where age and affection are harmonized rather than in conflict. The desert, with its emotional slowness, challenges the very foundations of these models. It doesn't fit the hypothesis. It doesn't follow the curve. It is too poetic for data, too spiritual for statistics. So the old man, who still feels, still dreams, still opens his heart, is ignored. But he exists, and he thrives in the slow time of the desert. When the end, what the desert reveals is that emotions, like sand, shift, but do not vanish. They are shaped by wind, but retain memory of every step. Love in the desert, especially for the old, is not a final flicker. It is a rekindled fire. And that fire burns not to prove something, but simply because it can. Because in the desert, time does not rush the heart. It waits for it. In the timeless sands of the desert, love reveals its truest nature, not bound by age, appearance, or fleeting desire, but rooted in wisdom, stillness, and emotional truth. Where modern societies rush through emotions, the desert teaches patience. And in that patience, even old men find their hearts beating like the youth. And young women, raised in the rhythms of tradition and depth, recognize that real love is not measured by years, but by presence, protection, and purpose. Until today, But scientists don't say, but the desert shows, is that when the world slows down, the heart awakens. In the desert, love is not a memory of youth. It is proof that the soul never grows old. Thank you for listening with an open heart and thoughtful mind. May you always find love that is not rushed, not performative, but real, wise, and eternal. Whether in the noise of the city or the silence of the desert, may your heart beat with clarity and courage. Good luck on your journey of love, truth, and discovery. Stay true, stay grounded, and may your story be just as powerful as the ones whispered by the desert wind.